there's a short life in
Why
the
do you
acting
think that
world.
is? What the creative side is?
Well, because losing out money, you got to take drugs. You're going through so much to try and deal with life.
In her civil lawsuit, Cassie said that she was the victim of abuse, assault, and rape at the hands of Diddy.
Let's be real, rumors don't just come out of thin air. They usually start as quiet whispers, passed around in private chats, and then suddenly, they explode across the media. Right now, all eyes are on Janice Combs, mother of Sean Diddy Combs. There are serious claims swirling that she may be playing a behind-the-scenes role in trying to silence the people accusing her son, using threats and pressure to do it. If any of this is true, it's not just about protecting a child. It's about guarding a legacy, holding on to power, and doing whatever it takes to keep an empire from falling apart.
That could potentially be coming when it's time for court and when it's time for him to testify. But what we're seeing right now is how important public relations really are to Sean Combs. He's desperately trying to control the narrative behind bars, allowing his attorneys to do documentaries.
Talk of Janice Combs being involved isn't exactly new. It's been bubbling under the surface ever since the first big accusations against Diddy made headlines. But now, with lawsuits stacking up and the entertainment world watching closely, her name is being pulled into the spotlight like never before. People are starting to ask, how far is Janice willing to go? Is she quietly pulling the strings behind the scenes while keeping up the image of a supportive mother? Or is this just another dramatic twist in a story that's already packed with scandal? It all really kicked off when Cassie, Diddy's longtime ex, filed a bombshell lawsuit. Her claims were intense, a story full of control, manipulation, and emotional abuse that painted a disturbing picture of who Diddy is behind closed doors. It wasn't just a warning shot, it was a direct hit aimed at the core of his brand and legacy. Even though his legal team scrambled to settle the case quickly, the damage was already done. And here's where things get more troubling. According to people close,
literally, it's an unhealthy space. And so eventually you're going to go too far, Who knows what happened to Philip? Who knows what he had to do in order to get to where he was at? There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head, but when you lose your man card.
Sources say Cassie, and others who've spoken out, haven't just faced legal pushback. According to reports, they've also been on the receiving end of subtle but chilling warnings to keep quiet. These aren't just formal cease and desist letters. We're talking about strange phone calls, vague messages, and in some cases, people feeling like they're being watched. Now, there's no direct proof linking Janice Combs to any of this, but her name keeps coming up when people talk about who might be behind the pressure campaign. And here's why: Janice isn't just any mom. She's been a powerful force in her son's business life for years. If anyone knows how to protect the brand, it's her. To be clear, Janice has publicly denied having anything to do with these alleged tactics. She said she's simply a heartbroken mother watching her son come under fire. But behind the scenes, there's a different story taking shape. People in the industry say Janice has always been intensely protective of Diddy, willing to go to great lengths.
What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying.
Take, for example, the disturbing claims from a former Bad Boy Records employee who recently spoke to an anonymous outlet. According to this source, fear and intimidation have long been part of the culture around Diddy, and while he's usually the face of that behavior, the source says Janice Combs may have played a much bigger role than people think. She's the one you don't see coming, the source claimed. Diddy's loud, he's flashy, but Janice, she's the quiet storm. She'll make a call, and suddenly, problems just disappear. But in today's world, things don't just disappear, especially with social media exposing every move and mistake. And as more people come forward, those alleged intimidation tactics are starting to raise red flags. Multiple sources have said that some accusers were offered cash settlements, but only if they agreed to sign strict non-disclosure agreements. While NDAs aren't unusual,
we are not done. This investigation is ongoing, and I encourage anyone with information about this case to come forward and to do it quickly.
Then there's something that legal experts are starting to point out, a pattern. A noticeable one. Several accusers seem to have faced the same kinds of pressure, suggesting, perhaps, a coordinated effort to discredit or silence them. One woman reportedly got a string of anonymous messages warning her to think twice before going public. Another said someone approached her with a large payout, on the condition that she drop her claims. There's no hard proof tying these actions to Janice Combs, but her name keeps coming up. Why? Because in the world of high-stakes celebrity scandals, repeated whispers usually mean something. And now, people are asking, how far would Janice really go to protect her son? What makes all of this even more unsettling is the emotional toll it takes on the alleged victims. Imagine finding the strength to speak up, only to be met with a quiet, calculated wave of intimidation meant to wear you down. One legal analyst.
All those things, thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there, because they get fluid, and next thing you know, once you go fluid, it's gone.
But we can't ignore the legal risks here. If it's ever proven that Janice Combs played a role in trying to intimidate witnesses or interfere with the legal process, the consequences could be massive, not just for her, but for Diddy's entire defense. Obstruction of justice is a serious charge. Even the suggestion of it could turn public opinion further against them. And already, legal experts are saying these claims could spark new investigations, potentially pulling even more people into the spotlight. Then there's the issue of public image. Diddy's reputation has already taken a major hit. But the idea that his own mother might be involved in these alleged efforts? That changes things. For years, Janice has been seen as the loyal, supportive mother standing by her son as he rose to fame and built his empire. But if these allegations...
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at it.
One thing is clear, the stakes have never been higher. As more lawsuits roll in and the media picks apart every corner of Diddy's world, the pressure on Janice and the entire Combs family is reaching a breaking point. The big question now is, are these intimidation claims just the beginning? Because if there's one thing we know about scandals like this, it's that they rarely stay contained. They tend to spiral fast, pulling everyone and everything down in the process, and here's where things start to really unravel. If you thought the stories of threats and behind-the-scenes pressure were bad, brace yourself. Diddy's long history of alleged violence and controversy is crashing into the spotlight again, and this time, it's hitting with full force. This isn't about one or two bad decisions. It's about
I came here today just to tell the truth, so hopefully we can get down to the bottom of this. I'm 100%, the charges against me are 100% false, and hopefully due to time, we'll start to see that.
For those who followed Diddy's career from the start, the warning signs were always there: the flashy lifestyle, the over-the-top parties, the headline-grabbing feuds. It all helped craft the image of a man who thrived on power and control. But beneath the glamour, there's been a steady stream of troubling stories, and now, with the spotlight brighter than ever, those stories are impossible to ignore. People in the industry have been whispering for years about Diddy's temper, his aggressive tactics, and his willingness to push the line to get what he wants. Now, as more lawsuits roll in, those whispers are turning into full-blown alarms. To really understand the roots of this, you have to go back to the early days, when Bad Boy Records ruled the charts and Diddy was at the top of his game. His tough, take-no-prisoners approach was part of the appeal. But even then, there were cracks in the image. Behind closed doors, former associates say Diddy was ruthless. Loyalty, they say, was strictly one-sided. And if
Look at Diddy, for instance. Let's take a look at him. Let's take a look at... He has videos. He has videos of the parties. Now, what I've heard, which I don't know how much of it is in mainstream media, I don't really follow the story that much, but what I've heard from friends that are attorneys, friends of mine, that have represented me before, agents and so on, is there's a bidding war.
But it hasn't just been about business. Diddy's personal life has long been surrounded by stories of control and aggression, former friends who became enemies, ex-partners with experiences they prefer not to speak about, and a string of people who quietly disappeared from his inner circle. Each departure left behind whispers, rumors, and half-truths that now seem a lot more serious in hindsight. Diddy has always been quick to deny any wrongdoing. But at this point, the sheer number of stories makes it hard to chalk it all up to coincidence. Then there's the company he's kept. Over the years, Diddy has surrounded himself with a revolving door of celebrities, business moguls, and influencers who helped shape and protect his image. But as the allegations against him grow more intense, many of those same people seem to be backing away, and really, it's not surprising. In an industry where image is everything, being tied to a scandal
to not be involved with a famous singer, to not come out, here's the price. And that they're just selling to the individuals that are in those, this is what I heard, they're selling those videos. So if you're Tommy X, and Tommy X is a big movie star, and he was at some of the Diddy parties, he was in one of those bedrooms with 3 other men, and he's happily married to a woman, and blah. Tommy doesn't want that video to come out. He does not want it to come out.
And then there are the whispers about the high-profile celebrities who used to frequent Diddy's infamous parties. Over the years, these gatherings have become legendary, lavish, exclusive, and, according to some, a little bit sinister. Those who were lucky enough to score an invite often left with tales of excess and indulgence. But beneath the surface, there's always been a sense that something darker was lurking. Now, with the legal spotlight on Diddy and his inner circle, many of these former partygoers are staying eerily quiet. Could it be that they saw things they'd rather not talk about? Or are they simply trying to avoid being caught up in a scandal they want nothing to do with? But let's focus on the people who weren't just guests at the parties, those who worked for Diddy, who sat at his table, and who moved behind the scenes in his shadow. Take Jacob Arabo, for example. Known as Jacob the Jeweler, he became a symbol of wealth and luxury. Always seen dripping in diamonds, he was a constant fixture at Diddy's events, rubbing elbows with Hollywood's finest. But over the years, Jacob's business dealings have raised a few eyebrows, with rumors of connections to shady.
Remember when I said Diddy mother might be the originator of the freak offs? All right, so apparently tomorrow there's the Peacock is dropping the Diddy documentary. It's called Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy, and the doc gets into Diddy's childhood and his experience growing up in connection to the lawsuit, assault allegations he's currently